Everyone, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to a very special episode of the show with a very special guest. He's back here once again. Mr. Steve Hackett is in the house. Hello, Steve. How are you?
Hi, very good, very good. Nice to see you.
Same
Nice to
here.
see
Same here.
you.
Steve was
Yeah,
just telling me
yeah,
they're having bad weather over there where he's at, and we're hoping everything's okay.
yeah, exactly. Hope the wind doesn't blow in. Yeah,
No,
sure.
don't want to see that. It would probably make for good TV, Steve, but I don't want
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
that.
we want to keep it out.
Exactly, exactly. So Steve is here to talk about a brand new release that just came out, which is another very cool live album called "The Lamb Stands Up" live at the Royal Albert Hall, with a very cool photo of Steve on the back there. So I think your fans have gotten used to in
Hmm,
recent times
absolutely. Yeah.
tour album release. What makes this one a little bit different? Probably
Well,
picking songs from the Lamb, right?
yeah. There's the lamb, and it went to the top of the rock charts over here, which is nice. So I'm very happy about that.
As you should be.
Um,
Yeah.
Signed a fair few copies before the thing was released. So people um, they want the stuff ahead of time to book it. So I guess it's probably gonna sell out. Um, yeah,
How many
it's
did you have to sign?
all good. Millions, billions of them. Look, I used to have a hand.
There
Now
you
look
go.
what
It's all
happened
gone
to
now,
me.
right?
Oh my God. Yeah, it was. Yeah,
So
yeah.
how
It's
thrilling is it for you? I mean, so now I've had the opportunity. In fact, I'm going to see you in a couple months in Connecticut at the Ridgefield Playhouse. But
right.
how much fun is it for you to be able to go out year after year, tour after tour, and play a strong selection of your solo material and then
Mm.
play like a either Genesis classics or a full album or what have you and have people just show up in droves and have people buy these release after release. I mean, it's got to be a good feeling to be able.
It is a very good feeling. Yeah, I mean, some years it wasn't always like that, but
Right.
I seem to be in some kind of purple patch, as some of my friends put it. The fact that I honor the early Genesis work, which has thrown light on the more recent stuff that I've done. So I've been very lucky that I think. Maybe having two prongs to this has made quite a bit of difference. I think if I was just doing one exclusively, I don't know if there'd be quite the level of respect, but people are interested in the past because there is no such thing as a touring Genesis anymore.
Right. I
That's
was just going to say.
that has stopped. But I love to honor the early work that we did. A lot of it really does stand up, not just in the title, but for all sorts of reasons. But then again, most of my time creatively is spent thinking about new stuff, whether that's rock stuff or it's influenced by other genres or not. I've been involved in a lot of different types of music over time. I mean, I just came back from Hungary yesterday. We were in Hungary and in Croatia. I was working with a fusion band over there, doing 3 shows, something very different, tiny bit of Genesis stuff, but the main thing is what they do, 99% improvised. So there's that. There's the acoustic things that I've done that I've sometimes had orchestra or orchestral players, certainly. There's been the rock stuff. Um, and I'm currently working on a new rock album, working with a lot of different people, having just moved house, new house, with a big downstairs area that I can use as a studio, which I'm thrilled about, which is just great. So things are going very well indeed.
So as always, you just keep them busy.
I keep doing something. I keep making a noise for a living. I keep at it.
That's good. I
Um,
will say you have me very intrigued by this little fusion project thing you're doing because
right.
it's really not something we've ever seen you do before. So,
No, I haven't really. Outside Hungary, sometimes we've been to Czechoslovakia with, like I say, Czech Republic. Sorry, you have to keep reminding yourself that the,
yeah.
the lines get drawn. But it's very interesting to play in places that I might not get to do my rock stuff, but certain territories are not are not that big on rock and roll, like Austria, for instance. But the other places, fortunately, are. I get to play a lot of Germany, Italy, and so we have those things coming up before I come over to do, the stuff in the States and Canada. So I've been stretching out this tour of this stuff. It's strictly speaking, it's The Lamb was out in 1974. I don't do the entire thing. I do 9 selections from it, but it's a bit of a stretch to say it's 50 years ago. It's 51 years ago, in fact. But it sounds very good. The things we do from it go down very well. But then I've also been including in the set recently Supper's Ready from Foxtrot. So that's,
Yes.
that was a whole side of a vinyl album back in the day. And of course, when I go down the busiest street in London and the place where there aren't many record shops left, there's HMV, the biggest in the country. And it's wall to wall vinyl now. Again, it's after all those CDs that I'm looking at in the background there, that's part of your collection there. I mean, I personally listen off CDs, but everyone, of course, loves the artwork from gigantic vinyl. That's the thing. When we were kids, if you were traveling somewhere on the subway, the tube as we call it over here, and you had your favorite album, you just in your mind you thought, yeah, everyone's looking at me because I've got the coolest album ever. This thing here, what was I thinking? It was the record business was a much smaller affair, unless you happen to be the Beatles or the Stones, of course.
Right.
But you could, yeah, you could go see anyone. You could go see Hendrix in a club down the road any weekend. You could go see Eric Clapton, Peter Green, prior to him forming Fleetwood Mac. I saw the late great Paul Butterfield with the late great Mike Bloomfield in the band.
Great,
The
yeah.
Butterfield Blues Band was mighty, because I started out life as a harmonica player, and Butterfield was just such an incredible blues harp player. It was something that I still have a passion for that. So as well as electric and nylon guitar stuff that I specialized in, I grew up ever since I was 2 trying to play like my father, who played harmonica, and so I came from a long line of harmonica players. There was a lot of that going on in the family. The occasional spoons player, but guitarists were, yeah, a generation or so to come, shall we say.
Of course, of course. How hard was it? You mentioned that you're only doing 9 selections from the Lamb. How hard was it
Yeah.
picking out which pieces to do from such a, big sprawling album?
Well, I wanted to do the pieces that I think stand up as separate tracks, that function as standout tracks, separate from the narrative of the album. Yes, of course, you could spend the majority of an appearance doing 90 minutes of the Lamb.
Yeah.
And there are people out there that do that. But choosing these things, as I say, something like Chamber of 32 Doors. I happened to be doing an interview with a famous British DJ called Nicky Horn some years ago. And as I walked into the studio, he was playing the Chamber of 32 Doors. And I heard it on radio, and I thought, this sounds really good. It sounds tight. It sounds compressed, because early mixes would not compress like that. But I thought, yeah, this sounds really wonderful. I decided I was going to do another Genesis Revisited album, not necessarily live, which I have done, but stuff in the studio with orchestral players. And I kicked it off with Chamber of 32 Doors because I thought it sounded so very good. And I first heard our singer, Nad, doing that, who does a great version of both Peter Gabriel and Phil. So that sounded really, really great. we put some real strings on and went to town on it. Came across really, really, really well. I had a lot of different singers on that #2 version of that. I guess I was thinking strength in numbers. Really, lots of pals were involved in that. It's very, very good. Even though I say so myself. I think the thing is that the material was all as through composed, I think, as any band can possibly be, and that's the reason why it has survived, and the reason why it is still popular has to do, I think, with that, the fact that the band was a bunch of writers or aspiring writers, and so I think that colors it. And we were lucky enough, though we didn't know it at the time, that John Lennon said about Genesis, he said he considered us to be true sons of the Beatles. Now, I didn't know that at the time. Decades later, this has surfaced. A pal has a tape with him saying this, and but for social media, maybe the band's rise might have been quicker if you'd been able to tweet this kind of stuff. But
of course, yeah. I mean,
hey, it's different. Everything was underground in those days. College radio broke Genesis in a way. College radio was very, very big. That groundswell of support. It was a marvelous time. You could wander into any campus and hey, what would you like to listen to? Yeah, you want to play that one, and play an hour's worth of Led Zeppelin or something like that. It was pure enthusiasts before the business became perhaps a little more formulaic.
yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, if you look at that run from Nursery Crime through Wind and Water, right, which is looked upon as like this classic run of albums today, and think what might have been 50 years ago if we had everything we had today to be able to get this reach to the masses, right?
Well, that's right, and really, it was a pre-video era as well. So,
yeah, just imagine if you're able to capture all that Peter could do at the time, in a video format back in 1972,
that's right. I think the art of filmmaking perhaps wasn't as developed as it is now. I mean, The Lamb itself was not something that was filmed. Pete is still talking about that these days, saying he hopes it will become a musical or a film, and you never know. It's entirely possible. Be nice if it happens during our respective lifetimes.
Yes,
of course. Meanwhile, onwards and upwards with many other things.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, you're talking before about being able to play and record with your pals, so to speak. For me, one of the highlights of this live set, and especially when you're watching it on the Blu-ray, is when you and Stephen Rothery from Marillion kind of duel back and forth on lead guitar for what seems like 5 minutes or so. It goes on for it's magic. I know you guys have played together before.
Yeah.
This was pretty special.
It's funny. I think most of the keyboard players have been objecting that the guitars have been going on too long, but I guess I'm getting my own back in my dotage. He and I, we're pals, and his wife is called Jo as well. So it's Steve and Jo go out to dinner with Steve and Jo, and it's the second time that he's actually. We've probably done it more times than that. There have been times when I've been proud to announce him on stage amongst other guests. It feels very nice to be able to hand it over. Here you are. The flame goes to you. It comes back. It does a circle, and we did it on Fly. We fly on a windshield. Originally known as Pharaohs. I was talking to some other people about that. About one of these days, I must get around to doing an orchestral version of that, so that we replace keyboards RMI piano, mellotron, nothing wrong with that. And mixer phases, blah, 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 blah. But what about brass, string, woodwind, the full Ravel treatment, Respighi, the whole thing? So I still have all these kind of not necessarily classical aspirations, but where orchestras and groups meet and can appreciate each other. What is it these guys can do that we can't do? What is it we can do they can't do? So in the spirit of George Martin and all those who, like Procol Harum, came up with great arrangements for orchestra and group. It's still a vital idea in my mind.
Well, that was a different way of presenting the music, right? The
Yes,
compositions are the same.
either that music or music that is specifically written for acoustic instruments. It isn't just electric instruments that have the power. If you get it right, there's this feeling of inclusivity. I like to think of it as progressive. Call it that. Call it inclusive. Call it collision, if you like. But different schools of thought coming together. People who have perhaps grown up with it with an entirely different set list.
Yeah.
Those who grew up on Beethoven and those who grew up on the Beatles. There is somewhere in the middle that everyone can enjoy. Funny enough, I was watching Andre Previn the other night, working with Oscar Peterson. They get a man from the world of classical and a man from jazz, and those guys are firing salvos at each other. I mean, both demon keyboard players, no doubt about it. It's acoustic, but the fire is there. So, yeah, passion, fire, commitment, all of that, and I do think that music's job is to re-energize people. The subtext is to re-energize, to heal, to do all sorts of things. Music is the best medicine we've got.
It is. It's what it's all about. Absolutely.
That's it. That's it. And yeah, so you travel, you play, you're ambassadors. You're bringing people together from different countries. It doesn't have to be this decoupling world that we inhabit with horror. It's possible that people can really do some amazing things together.
Yep, absolutely. So you mentioned travel. So is that what's
Sure.
next for you? You're coming over here to the US fairly soon, right?
Yeah, I'll be over in October. I'm looking forward to that. Before that, we have some Italian stuff and some French stuff, and recording in between, of course. So, as I say, that takes up a lot of my time thinking about it. I work on paper. I can't always access a guitar if I'm on a plane, a train, a bus, whatever, wherever I'm traveling, whatever the vehicle is. If it works on paper, I know it will work when it's given over to instruments, given over to people. Pen and paper, it's very, very cold. If you can make a melody work on paper, if you can write it down, that's the big test. So I've got thousands of these things I write out, and very few of them get to surface to a finished standard, but there'll be the standout things that I'll be thinking, yeah, I can't let that one go like a flower. It needs watering. It needs the subconscious incubation period. It needs time. It doesn't always happen immediately.
Right.
Sometimes there'll be something in your mind that's been there since the 1960s. A little idea that shouldn't really work, but it just won't go away. It will haunt you. You've got to bring it to life.
And sometimes that takes time, and you'd like it to happen quicker, but
Sometimes it takes decades.
yeah,
Sometimes it's written and recorded in 5 minutes.
yeah.
That's how it is, you know.
So what are you
Yeah.
looking at for a timetable for the next album? Are we looking at probably 2026 sometime?
I think so. Yeah, I think it'll be at that time. It depends on um, how much of an odyssey I want it to be, how much of a journey, how much traveling I do, how much I try to include people from other nations, because it takes time. It's a little bit like being a second camera unit on a movie. To have those moments, to have those setups, to be able to catch something immediately can be very, very good. Not all the things that are written are up to the same standard. Sometimes um, musicians catch fire, metaphorically, when they're doing something together, and that can be very interesting.
I think, you're on the right record label that will allow you the freedom to kind of do whatever it is you want to do. Like as if you look at like kind of like pick out any of your last bunch of
Mm.
albums over the last decade or two,
Yeah,
Inside Out has it been what seems to be very flexible with allowing you to kind of
yeah.
follow your muse, right? So it's good to be on a label like that.
Yes, they've been very good, and of course they are kind of Sony is involved, and so the parent company is Sony. But you know, they had some shaky moments at one point, and then Sony stepped in. I suspect Sony are probably more exacting in terms of, well, you know, going to have some hits here, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, the conditions, of course, surround hits. Uh,
Yeah, what are hits nowadays, right?
what is a hit? Indeed,
Yeah.
what what's a hit? Yeah, uh, a hit at one time was anything that we thought was worth listening to. That was it in Genesis days. We might be listening to Mahavishnu, or we will be listening to guys who could really play, or the very young Fleetwood Mac saying, "This sounds good," or that very young boy band called Led Zeppelin
Yeah, yeah.
um, at the time. Um, I remember this. We had been performing in Europe, and we came back with no sleep, and we're driving through the night, and we arrived back in London, and we're approaching Shepherd's Bush Green, for those who know London. Anyway, and then we hear something, and it's Led Zeppelin's Kashmir, and we all wake up, and we're going, "This sounds good. Who's this?" Um, yeah, music that makes you sit up and listen. There's no doubt about it. I was working with Chris Squire. We were doing several things together. The late great Chris,
Yeah.
sorely missed, but we were at that one and only reformation of Zepp. For it was Ahmet Ertegun's passing. A lot of people were involved with that gig. Emerson was on. Um, Chris was playing with Emerson, and we watched the Zepp set, and I think it was the last number was Kashmir, and he hollered at me, "This is my favorite Zepp track," and I said, "Yeah, me too. This is the one. That slow, powerful, train-like rhythm that just isn't gonna stop. That feeling of Iron Man cometh.
Yep.
That
Yep.
feeling of just absolutely in the groove. Probably not done to a click at all, but it sounds like it absolutely sits on it. He's not, to my mind, he's not speeding, but you get these fast drum breaks when it gets into its hypnotic cycle and goes round. I think there's some kind of similarity between what the Zepp were doing at that time and perhaps what the Beatles were doing in a slightly earlier era, and also the stuff that I'm trying to think of the band. I'm being informed I've got another interview
You
at
do. Okay.
4:30 here here
4:30. Okay.
the
And
UK, which
real quick, Steve, it's
is
great to
crazy.
have you.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. If we
I
get
hate to put
talking
an
and
end to we're having a
Exactly.
fine time here.
So we're looking
But
forward to the tour. Is it going to be
yes,
similar to what kind of the set list here, or are you doing something completely different for the US tour?
well, as I say, Supper's Ready is going to be involved with that. So
Okay.
we've moved a couple of things because that's at least as popular as Lamb, if not more so. So
Right.
um,
Cool.
we had a number one with that at the time. The
Yeah.
Italians were nuts over it and what have you. So yeah, I'll be doing that. And, that's,
Okay.
as I say, it's a whole side, but hey, you know,
It's a great side.
it's great to have those choices.
Absolutely. Well, I look forward to seeing you in Connecticut at the Ridgefield Playhouse in October.
Thank you.
Don't forget,
Lovely to
and,
be going back there.
maybe
Thank
I'll
you.
talk to the label. Maybe we can meet up after the show real quick. Just to see. Oh, I
Marvelous.
know it's been a long time. We haven't met since Nearfest in person. That was a long time
All
ago.
right. Okay. Well, I look forward to that. All the best.
Sounds good. Thanks, Steve, for joining us. Thanks
Thank
everybody
you.
for watching. For
Cheers,
Steve
Peter.
Hackett, I'm Pete Pardo. Have a good one,
Okay.
everybody. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Cheers.